So I love gaming. When I was growing up, the Game Boy always had a special place in my heart. I loved it so much because I took it literally everywhere, to long road trips or even just to the toilet, and using the Game Boy link cable to trade Pokemon at school. It's just tied to so many great fun memories. Fast forward to today, and there's just less time for gaming. You know how it works. We start working over 40-hour weeks, a family comes along, chores have to be done in the house. But recently, I decided to get the new ROG Ally X. It's my first handheld PC gaming device, and something special happened. This thing brought back that spark and joy for gaming to me. Now I'm finding little pockets of time to pick it up and, just play, rather than struggling to find a big chunk of time to game. So after using it for a few weeks, here's my experience with the ROG Ally X and why I think this device could bring you lots of joy too. So from the moment I opened up the box, I already knew that I was in for a treat. This is legitimately a powerful PC with a 120Hz 7-inch IPS LCD screen in your hands, and that's just insane. It's lighter and more comfortable in hand than I thought it'd be, so the first impressions were great until, what the heck is that? There's rattling inside the unit. Do you hear that too? That cannot be right. It's as if a chip of foreign plastic was sealed in there by accident, but I hope that it's unique to this unit. Look, let's see if this poses an issue later in this video, but let's move on for now. In the box, there's a 65-watt charger, manuals, and the elephant in the room, the warranty card. And don't forget about the hidden goodie here on the top of the box. This is the included device stand. Look, it's pretty flimsy, but hey, I'll take it, it's included. Once it's out of the box, the setup itself was actually kind of finicky. Since it runs Windows 11, you have to set it up exactly like a PC running Windows 11, including account signups, firmware updates, and removing lots of unnecessary apps and bloatware. But once setup is out of the way, actually gaming on the ROG Ally X is such a dream, and here is why. At the center of the experience is the 7-inch IPS display. It's the same display seen in the Ally, but it's aging great. It's smooth, sharp, colorful across all games, from the beautiful art style and landscapes of The Long Dark to the fast-paced flash and bangs of Halo Infinite. And it's incredible that in this form factor, the display is capable of 120Hz variable refresh rate. The high refresh rate is going to be most noticeable in fast motion games like F1, which incredibly holds a steady 100+ FPS, as you can see here, and it's such a smooth gaming experience. So gaming at this level of frame rate from just about anywhere, like a plane or right from your bed, is really quite special. Maybe my expectations were set low coming from the 720p display of a Nintendo Switch, but this display has surprised me and impressed me. I would love to see an OLED display in a future iteration, but that'd be more a nice to have rather than a necessity. But yeah, the display packs a portable punch, that's for sure. Now the hardware underneath the hood has been tackling my wide library of games well for the most part. So the AMD Ryzen Z1 Extreme chip paired with the increased 24GB of LPDDR5X RAM will run most AAA games at medium settings at 900p or even 1080p relatively smoothly with at least 30 frames per second or more. I did run into issues of the last week like Forza Motorsport consistently crashing at the exact same spot. It's actually quite frustrating. After some research though, it looks like it's a common problem and more a fault with the buggy game than the ROG Ally X. So aside from the occasional hiccup, the ability to play AAA titles or even competitive online games if you really wanted from anywhere in the house is priceless. For its modest size, it does a heck of a job producing quality visuals to immerse me into the virtual worlds. And that's a great thing about these PC handhelds. We're able to tweak performance settings to get it just right, and the Ally X is filled with so much customizability. Pressing this button here brings up Command Center, and here I can play around with frame rate locks, FSR, and a whole range of in-game graphical settings allows me to find that sweet spot between performance, battery life, and also visuals. There are even great communities online sharing their ideal settings for each game on the ROG Ally and the Ally X, so if you don't want to spend that time playing around with the settings, chances are the ideal settings are probably online already for you to take a look at. Okay, so another big reason why I've been sucked into this device is its great design. It's a device that we hold for long stretches of time, so it's important that it's, designed well and is ergonomic. Thankfully, the Ally X is just that. It has awesome key design updates over the original Ally. The updated and rounder grip area follows the shape of my hand and palm nicely. The full-size joysticks have a great deep concave that cradles my thumb perfectly. The triggers and bumpers are also so satisfying to press, and the larger D-pad is sharp and perfect for arcade fighters like Tekken or Street Fighter, where a joystick just doesn't cut it. Even button mashing in games like Sifu feels satisfying with great vibrative feedback. And by the way, this game, Sifu, I've got to give it a shout out. I think it's an incredibly underrated game that I recommend on the Ally X. So yeah, overall, I was concerned that maybe using a handheld like this would be a subpar experience from a dedicated controller, but there honestly wasn't a moment I thought, hey, I prefer my PS5 controller. Although it will never replace a keyboard and mouse, especially for competitive games, and I do wish the joystick dead zones were more sensitive, they are mint for what it is, plus the whole flexibility of customizing mapping buttons for any game is top notch. Comfort and ergonomics is always subjective and based on hand size, but I think it's safe to say that the Ally X design is improved over the original Ally. Oh yeah, and the rattling during the unboxing a couple of weeks ago, yeah, well, it's completely disappeared. I didn't do anything with it. I'm not sure if it was a foreign piece of plastic that is just lodged in there, but don't have an issue with it now, which is great. Now, my gaming sessions on the Ally X is rarely longer than 2 to 3 hours at a time. It's more like 30 minutes to an hour here and there, but even after picking it up for the 4th time without charging it, the battery life on the Ally X just continues to give and give. And that's one of the biggest draw cards of the Ally X. The battery capacity has now doubled from 40 watts to 80 watt battery. So when I'm on the road and depending on what game I'm playing, I'll throw this device into 13 watt silent or 17 watt performance mode in Command Center to maximize that battery life. But when I'm back at home and want the best performance, I'll throw it into the full turbo mode plugged into the charger. So battery life does vary a lot actually depending on the game, but I'm at the very least getting 2 hours with demanding games at 1080p, or even over 8 to 10 hours for lightweight games. But if you plan on traveling anywhere with this, yes, bringing a charger is an absolute must. Now, I did experience some negatives with this device in the first 2 weeks. Being a more casual gamer, the setup and running Windows 11 on a handheld is finicky and time consuming. There's just so many irrelevant stuff on Windows 11 like bloatware, news, and even ads. Like, what's the point of Copilot on the Ally X? And that's something that the Steam Deck does so well that the Ally just doesn't. SteamOS is just a more definitive, more bespoke, more polished gaming operating system that makes it as easy as possible to just pick up and play with zero fuss. Ally X does have the Armory crate which stores your library of games and settings, but it's still quite clunky and nowhere near as streamlined as SteamOS. If ASUS was able to develop a solid gaming OS for the Ally uniquely, it would be such a game changer. Then there is the price tag. It's steep and a big ask at $799 US. To be fair, we do get a lot of device for that price, and it's arguably one of the best PC handhelds on the market yet, but no matter what way I cut it, it is really expensive. At $799 US, I would have personally liked to, see a dock included or at least a carry case at this price, when its more affordable competitors like the Steam Deck and even the Legion Go come with a case included. My other minor nitpicks over the last few weeks include the glossy touchscreen being a fingerprint magnet, the internal fans getting uncomfortably loud and warm, the joysticks get grimy quite quickly, and then maybe the most important of them all, ASUS's previous customer support dilemmas that almost made me think twice about the Ally X. I'm sure most of you have already heard about it, but if you haven't, the TLDR is that there were a lot of cases of poor handling of warranties, returns, and hardware flaws, and at this high price point, that's the last thing you want to hear. The good news is that ASUS has vocally committed to revamping their warranty process and has started taking steps in that general direction. And that's an important step when ASUS is in the hardware business and is incentivized to sell, well, more units. So besides that is the ASUS ROG Ally X. It's transformed gaming for me. After a long work day at a desk, sometimes I just don't want to spend another couple of hours at another desk gaming. Instead, the Ally X has allowed me to find windows of opportunities to game in any room, and it's changed the way that I look at gaming. It's not this hobby that is just time consuming or a time waster anymore. It's now a guilt-free, enjoyable experience where I can balance both work and play, and that's truly priceless. Of course, the powerful gaming PC that I've built still has a time and place. You'll find me playing Counter-Strike or Valorant there as always, but being able to access AAA titles from anywhere on this handheld device is just awesome to me. I'm someone that flies and travels a lot, and I can confidently say that the ROG Ally X will be coming along with me for most trips. Overall, all the small iterative changes combined put the Ally X up there as one of the best, if not maybe the best handheld available on the market right now. It's not for everybody at this price point, but it is a step forward for all gamers. If you made it to the end of this video, comment the code word gamer and I'll give it a like for watching until the end. I'll also leave a video to my PC gaming setup here if you want to check that out. And as always, thanks for watching and I'll see you in the next video.